Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to what is already our sixth session in a row of the first day of Big Data Days. Up next, we have a very interesting speaker with a maybe even more interesting story. I've personally known Anthony for many years, I think close to a decade already, and I'm very happy that he decided to join us today. And he will be presenting from the Netherlands to talk about data science for positive health. Anthony Meyer grew up in an entrepreneurial family and has been fascinated by entrepreneurship, innovation, and technology from an early age. This manifested itself in different initiatives, and the highlights so far are obviously Innovation Boosters, which is a very successful consultancy business focused on the execution of innovation. And his latest venture is Yabba Data Doo, a name that I personally love and which is all about data science in action. It's a startup that focuses on operationalizing data science in a sustainable way. And today he's going to talk more about that in more detail by looking at data science in positive health. It's a great pleasure to welcome you, Anthony, to Big Data Days. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Jan Willem, for your warming words and this good introduction. I think I will kick off and start with a story about Yabba Data Doo and data science for positive health. A short introduction of myself. My name is Anthony Meyer. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm involved with many ventures. One of you can find here below Innovation Booster, which is focusing on the execution of strategy innovation. We have a company called Young Digital Leaders, which is a digital traineeship. I'm involved more as a hobby with Adler, your digital soft skill coach. And my latest venture is Yabba Data Doo, where we're going to talk about today. What is Yabba Data Doo all about? Yabba Data Doo is all about data science in action. What we mean with that is that we really try to improve primary processes through data science, not only for profit, but also for people and planet. We are in an age where a lot of talent goes to the Facebook, Googles in this world, where they are happy to hook you on their website or get you as soon as possible to their web shop. But we think, as Yabba Data Doo, that this talent can be involved in much more societal challenges. That's also why we founded Yabba Data Doo, which is, of course, a data science consultancy with on our menu data innovation, where we build custom-made data applications for organizations, but also help through data capability building teams to get high performance on their data application development, and that all for people, planet, and profit. So that's a short introduction from my side. And now we'll go into one of our projects we recently finished. Well, finished. We actually going in further development with them, but that's for later on. I'll tell you a bit about the context of this case, this use case. And before I do that, I have to explain a bit about the healthcare system in the Netherlands. And what we see in the Netherlands is that the cost of healthcare will double in 2040, and that's because of a lot of reasons. The aging population, we have a very aging population in the Netherlands, where people need more and more care. We have, of course, increasing population where more people need more care. We have a higher life expectation, so people live longer, so we need more care. And we have medical technology, which is improving fast. And that means we have more complex solutions for complex diseases. We can keep people longer alive, which also concludes in rising healthcare costs. And this is a real problem. because we're a small country and we cannot maintain this system. So to stabilize or lower the health costs in the Netherlands, we have to really innovate and experiment with new ways of dealing with this healthcare situation. And I'm going to talk with you today about one of these initiatives, experiments, which is doing that. This experiment is called Vitaal Vechtdal, and what they test at the moment, experimenting, is the following assumption. And the assumption is, by implementing preventive and positive healthcare in the region, and I will tell you a bit more about that later on, that will lower the total cost of the total healthcare system in the region. This is the assumption or the hypothesis that are testing at the moment, and they are doing that quite successful. A bit more about Vitaal Vechtdal. Vitaal Vechtdal is a regional movement. It started 2 years ago, which is focusing on positive health and well-being. They do that by setting up and operationalizing different initiatives by, for example, start courses on stop smoking, people to get people moving by setting up different clubs and societies where they, for example, walk through the nature. They have courses about alcohol abuse, but also they inform people about the cost of healthcare and how they can be more responsible with that. This organization is really focused on positive health and preventive health. So we don't want people to end up in the healthcare system, which costs us a lot of money. And they do that by connecting citizens, employers, and care professionals. And they had, before they hired us, which is actually a pilot, one of the first pilots we did with Yabba Data Doo, they had some challenges and some goals. And the challenge of Vitaal Vechtdal was that they don't had any real data, only trend data, which you can see here on the right side of the slide, which was only available once every 4 years, and no other data was available about the healthcare in their system, or not available to them, because we have a large privacy law, GDPR, here in the Netherlands, so you cannot share any data about your own personal care. Next to that, they have a very philanthropic business model. They get funded by different municipalities, regional governments, and some companies that want to make a societal impact, which concluded in that at the moment they have no steering information, or had no steering information for strategic decisions. With only trend data of 4 years, you cannot make more strategic tactical decisions to steer your movement in the right direction. Next to that, the impact of the different initiatives they developed and run cannot be measured. So there's unknown what value is actually delivered through the region. And as Yabba Data Doo, when we get involved with them, we got the following goals for this pilot project to help them a step further in their development of their movement. And these 2 goals were: design a sustainable business model for Vitaal Vechtdal, and create an MVP data platform that collects positive health data within the region, and also translates this data to steering information and impact measurements. And that's actually what we needed to do. So first of all, I'm going to show you our solution, and later on I will tell you how we got there. see a question about where does the name come from. I can be very honest with that. I have a good friend who is involved in marketing, and we had an evening with some beers, and this creative insight came towards us, and we decided that should be our name for now. So if you have any more questions, just ask them. I will try to pick them up as soon as possible. The solution from Yabba Data Doo for defining, for getting towards these two goals. First of all, and that's, I think, good to tell you, I have many experience in innovation projects where we also did a lot of business model innovation, and we tried to combine it with the data capabilities we have now. And the business model we came up with is what we call a platform business model, multi-sided platform business model, where we have 3 different parties. Of course, Vitaal Vechtdal in the middle, the HR managers of different organizations in the region, and partners, who Vitaal Vechtdal works together to implement measurement initiatives that can impact positive health. So what we did is to create this business model, and we tested that a lot by using design thinking principles, is that we asked, okay, to HR managers, what kind of insights do you need about your employees, which can be very, very helpful in setting your company goals, improving your company culture, improving your company's health. And what kind of data do you want to give to us so we can collect that and make it insightful for you? So there is what the first side of the platform came forward. So we collected survey data through HR managers, and we sent them back in another way, which gave a lot of insights about the current health of their employees. But to make this business model work, we need some capital or money getting in. And also the HR man said, okay, now I have this data, what do I have to do? So we tried to find different partners, and you can think of people who are local coaches, health coaches, that kind of partners who we said, okay, how do you want to get involved in Vitaal Vechtdal? And they said, yeah, we have a lot of stuff, a lot of measurements and a lot of initiatives in our head, but we don't really know how to get them in the community. And we don't know which initiatives or propositions we have which are actually relevant. So we start sharing these data insights we got on an anonymous basis with these partners, and they said, okay, well, I have an initiative or proposition for the community. And then we connected them all, and then you see that the partners give a sort of community fee to get access to the data insights and gave content or propositions for the community, which again, Vitaal Vechtdal pushed to the HR management with the data insights so they can use these initiatives to increase the positive health of their employees. So this is the solution of the business model we proposed and tested. And I can let you know what actually works. But then, of course, also we needed right data, impactful data, insightful data. And that's where we first made a wrong decision, because we wanted to put the surveys first to the employees. And that was a bit difficult because companies are quite private, about their employees, and they don't want them to be disturbed by all kind of things. So that's also why we're talking to different stakeholders within the organizations, and the HR managers saw the value of this initiative. So what we did is we made a survey which we sent to the HR managers, who again get this data, distributes this survey among the employees, where we get the data. For example, next to that, the data we actually translated into insights with different benchmarks, and we gave that again to the HR managers, who can next to that to the HR managers, who can combine that with the initiatives we have from our partners, and communicate them to the employees. And then the whole system gets round. Employees get more are more aware of their positive health, don't often visit the doctor anymore, and we see that we got positive health and so less healthcare costs. And that's how our solution is for the data platform. I have some small snapshots. It's actually pretty MVP, minimum viable product, where we just try and tested this solution. So we have a login website, we have a quarterly survey with some standard questions, and we have also within the quarterly survey what we call some topic questions, which changes every quarter to keep it relevant for HR managers and for employees, and to see, okay, what kind of different topics live there. What are standard questions? For example, for the HR manager is what is your absence in your time? What is your sickness rate? All these kind of rates, but also different topics where we can talk about, for example, in the COVID time, we tested, for example, how does it feel to be working home? And a whole topic around that. We translate these survey questions to from a lot of different organizations, companies, and we translate them to very simple, I would say, insights about absence, leave, how do people feel, how did you sleep, how did you move the last 2 weeks, and by giving them these insights back together with a link to the initiatives Vitaal Vechtdal provides, we can actually address, we can give them on a very, very, we can give them the insight. They know they have to take action, and actually the action is right beneath the page, and they can take action. And that makes it very suitable for small, medium enterprises which don't have large HR departments, but do want that their employees are happy and positively healthy. Are there any questions so far? How do you define which KPIs are important in your data platform? That's a good question, Anna. We used a framework which is called Positive Health, and we actually there's a good this framework we use to set up the questions and actually set the KPIs which we wanted to measure. A very hard thing in setting up this data platform and also the surveys was that a lot of people in these small SMEs are not educated that much. And so the questions should be very simple and very also for people who are lower educated, that they can actually understand the question, and that we don't give from one question all kind of different answers, because then the relevancy of the KPI moves away. Any more questions about the solution or the journey so far? No. Then, how does our journey? How did we get there? I show you a bit about the completed journey so far. So, of course, we started we have two phases. Phase one is what we call the definition phase, which is based on design thinking principles. So we had a kickoff. We acquired a lot of organizations to interview them about where are your needs, what do you want for your employees, and to get a real good feeling about how we can help their employees with positive health. And then we started some design workshops, actually in co-creation with Vitaal Vechtdal, the HR managers, the employees, to get a feeling of how the platform should look like and which functionalities should be. In the midterm presentation, we actually set up the first design, we presented the first design, and we got a go for development. In phase B, we started working in development sprints, Agile Scrum way, and after that, we did a validation. And also here, the innovation expertise we have came in handy, because how do you validate something which is a minimum viable product? And we asked, for example, to a lot of organizations, if we stop doing these surveys and you don't get the insights, how sorry are you that it's gone? And actually, we got a very, very good response rate that about 80% of the HR management said, okay, I don't want to, I need this, I want this, and I don't want you to stop. But of course, some minor points of improvement were suggested. From there on, we helped the team of Vitaal Vechtdal, which is not a very data-savvy team, is trying to be right now, with implementations where we set up a roadmap for them, how they can actually run this data platform, what kind of deliverables they should need to run this platform. And then from there on, we got the final presentation. And it doesn't stop there, because we have still a journey ahead. And luckily, Vitaal Vechtdal asked us to be their long-term partner to do short-term, mid-term, and long-term things. So actually now at the moment, we're making the application ready for launch, and we help them with the acquisition of companies and partners to scale the solution and to get more data in. On the midterm, and I think that's very interesting, we are going to enrich insights with CBS data. CBS is the Dutch Statistics Institution, which has a service called Micro Data Services, where they have on very, very regional scale data of people about their healthcare, their living situation, etc., etc. And we're going to try to integrate that within the data platform to enrich the insights we have from the surveys and to get a more big data perspective in there. On the long term, they also want to create and connect the application to the healthcare professionals and, of course, the more general citizens, which I think is going to be a more extensive of the multi-sided business platform, multi-sided business model, platform business model we have right now, and that's where we're heading to. I know this is not a very technical big data, machine learning, AI presentation, but I think it's very interesting that with a little data, you can actually bring a lot of value to people who are actually not used to be working in a data-driven way. And they're actually, as a company or organization, Vitaal Vechtdal, are very, very excited to move forward and go from a very, I would say, low data maturity to actually understand how they can work with data and improve their initiatives and their organization. So thank you for listening, and I think now we have time for Q&A.
Thanks, Anthony, for this very insightful presentation. I really like the structure that you chose to kind of tackle quite a big question and make it into something really practical using data. I have some questions of my own, but before I get started with that, one of the other questions is that you mentioned that the team is not data savvy. How did you teach them? So that's probably referring back towards the Vitaal Vechtdal team.
Yeah, so actually, we try in every project we do, and especially if teams are not data savvy, is we start by choosing one of the team members as a product owner, who we educate in product ownership by doing the tasks actually together with our own product owners. So they learn how to work in an agile way, build a backlog, translate business requirements into technical requirements, etc. So that's how we do. So it's in a way we do it for them, we do it together with them, and actually eventually they should do it themselves. And we are really keen on doing that in a good way, so people are getting experience with that.
Good. That's I think teaching them is kind of the cornerstone of making them familiar. Another question that just came in is, let me read it out or project it on the screen. What would you advise on how to start with data for any company? Where do you begin?
Yeah, big question. If especially because I don't know the context where attendee one asked this from, but I would start, of course, from a technical perspective in a more easy way. So what kind of data do you have? But especially what kind of challenges do you have internally? And people often start with the data, but I think you should start with the challenges you have and then look, okay, what should the application or should look like? And from there, start collecting or inventorizing which data you have and start building. Just start.
Yeah, that's a very good point. One of the things or questions that I'm very interested in is you mentioned the CBS data, so the Department of Statistics. How did you integrate that? Is that data freely available, or is that kind of, do you connect that through some kind of a platform? How does that work, and how you use those existing data sources to kind of drive this?
Yeah, well, actually, this data is freely available, but you have to jump through certain stage gates before people trust that data to you. So actually, we're in that process at the moment. I've worked with the data already in other projects, and I think it's hard to actually see, okay, we just put out everything in one database and we'll see from where it goes. but also again start with a challenge, and what do you want to know, and can we find it in the data, and then combine it with the insights you already have and try to build from there. So yeah, a modular approach I would suggest.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It's always one of the key changes, or at least that we are seeing, is there's all this massive collections of data which are available typically from government organizations or semi-government, but actually getting your hands on that to start it, it's quite a challenge.
Yeah.
Good. I see another quick question coming in, and that is, I was already thinking somebody was going to ask this. Data and healthcare has a lot to do with data privacy, especially for people who are in Europe. It's a little bit less in Southeast Asia. What are your thoughts on data privacy in relation to the solutions that you're building?
So actually, in this example I just showed you, the main problem was that we wanted to survey to get survey data from the employees themselves, and companies were like really, yeah, they didn't want that. So in that sense, we created an HR manager, or we found multiple HR managers who want to collect that data for us. And actually, all the data is in this sense anonymous. We know from which company it comes, but that's where it stops.
Yeah.
And what you see right now is that HR managers see, hey, this is very valuable. Can you also make an employee survey? Is the next question they're now asking.
Yeah.
And I think also people are scared about privacy a lot. If they see what it can do and how do you use it, and your goal is clear, they start embracing it. And I think that's a lot in a lot of other industry sectors is the same. No, we don't want to share our data. And then if you maybe with simple solutions help them to do good stuff with this data, they see, hey, this is interesting, and here we can improve. Yeah, in the other sense, it's hard. Therefore, it's very hard to keep your track if data privacy is in place. And yeah, and there's some standards. I think I don't know them on the top of my head, but is the way you use data ethical? Is it used for only one goal? All these kind of things. Yeah, you have to tick the box. Otherwise, you won't get it. And I think that's also one of our points that we really want to be very clear about how we use the data, because we use it in a societal way often.
Yeah, one of the previous speakers talked about the need to kind of establish those more data governance processes that include things like security and privacy and trackability and traceability. And I think that kind of aligns with your story quite a lot.
Yeah.
Good, Anthony. I think this was a very good session. Very nice to see what you're doing with Yabba Data Doo. I'm pretty sure this company is going to be massively successful.
Mm-hmm.
Very good case study to present. That always makes it very, very practical. So I want to thank you for participating today. Before I close the session, let me just very quickly share what's coming up next. Because after this session, people again will have a choice, a difficult choice that they will need to make on where they're going to spend their next time. So in the next hour, we're going to be discussing two different sessions. The first speaker will be from the US, from one of the big telco companies, and is going to discuss a session on how can you use in-app ratings to uncover user needs and personalized experience. So this is probably going to look at a deeper dive into how do you use customer analytics to make a more personal experience. The other speaker is again from the Netherlands, is coming from Rabobank, and is going to talk about an analytics growth model. So both two very interesting sessions for which you will need to make a hard choice. Remember that you will always be able to watch back the recording of the other speaker, so you can still watch both of them. But that is coming up in around 25 minutes from now. With that, Anthony, I would like to really once again thank you for being part of Big Data Days. I hope we can count on you for any next event as well. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here, and good luck with your company and your further expansion.
Thank you very much, Jan Willem, and you guys enjoy the rest of the 2 days you are